numbers.
Oh, really?
Kevin, yeah.
Alright.
Like that to the T. I grew up out here, so this is like, this is where we
Our
tore
number,
up.
you told me, yeah.
This is where you used to tear it up. Me and like 3 of my buddies on that bike. Lots of fun.
Alright.
Cool?
Yeah.
Alright, let's hit this bad boy.
It's fine.
Oh, good. Okay, cool. Awesome. All right, guys. So thanks for coming out. We are going to be, I'm Daniel Mesrobian, by the way. And today we're going to be talking about the importance of pricing property at the listing presentation. And then we're also going to go over price reductions. Because as we all know, the market is changing. We know that inventory is rising. Joanne, have you seen that in your market?
I have.
Inventory rising? Days on market, you're starting to see increase as well?
Yes.
Go ahead.
They're pricing them too high.
Yes, so that's exactly right. So and what we're noticing is there's like a gap between comps that are closing at the numbers that the market was, let's say, 6 months ago, and then what prices are now. And the reason being is when you look at a lot of these comparables, they're, let's say the close date is in January, and it's something an appraiser will use. That property didn't go under contract until till 60 days before that. Because think about it, it takes 60 days to close in New Jersey, 45 to 60. So that actually took a contract in November. That's 8 months ago. So the market has changed significantly since then, and you guys are noticing it in your market too, Fidel. You noticing that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over that in depth today. So I just again want to say thank you all for being here. Some of you traveled very far. Some of you are a little closer. So for me to be able to pour out and share to you guys and give you some information that's going to arm you with knowledge when you go on these listing appointments to price the property right so you don't need to take a reduction. It just goes 30 days, you have your contract, seller's happy, you're happy, and in another 30 to 45 days, it closes. That's the goal here. So a little bit about me. I've been in the industry over 25 years. I started in lending, which is what Ingrid does. I started that in 1999 right out of college, and Circle of Excellence, our awards at that time were like Circle of Excellence and club awards and things of that nature. So then I transferred over to the real estate side in 2009, which was a real fun time, if we all remember what happened then. So I was selling at that time, not a lot, but I was. So from that time to now, there's been hundreds of homes that I've had the good fortune of selling. And I lead an organization of, I think it's 45 now agents. And again, what we do is we do these lunch and learns. We want to arm you with information and skills that will lead to, happy sellers, sales, financial freedom, and overall, everybody being a complete and total success at their industry. So I've trained a lot of agents, mentor a lot of them as well, and these are some of the things that I enjoy doing. I actually went to college to teach, so teaching and helping and serving has been in my blood since I was very young. So here's a question for everyone. Do real estate agents all make the same amount of money?
No.
Why do you think that is?
Determination and drive.
Good.
Skills.
Keep going. Say it again. Say it louder.
Skills.
Yeah. How do we get skills?
Practice.
That's it. We get skills through practice. So we always like to say that the money's not in the service, guys. It's in the selling of the service. So how do you sell the service that you have to somebody else so they see value in what you're explaining to them to then say, yeah, I'm going to work with that person. I want to work with them either to buy my first home or to sell my home. And that's what these are for. So skills. Let's get into skills. The process of listing property. So we first know that before we even set appointments, we know that we use PLAN, plan, and that is our day. For those of us that are in the Elite Builders, we know that is prospect. Go ahead, say it again.
Lead.
Lead. Lead what? Follow-up,
Follow-up.
lead follow-up, then the A is,
Appointments,
yes, and then the N is
negotiate contracts.
negotiate deals, exactly. That is our morning, afternoon, and evening, guys. We focus solely on that. That is what we call income-producing activities. Prospect, lead follow-up, go on appointments, negotiate deals. Those are income-producing activities. Things that are income-servicing activities would be what?
Paperwork,
Say it again.
paperwork,
Okay, admin, yep. What else?
showing property,
Go ahead, say it again.
showing property,
Mm-hmm. What else? What would be something that would be an income servicing? Lock boxes,
Open houses.
open, okay? Now we're talking about things that are, you're waiting for people to come to you, okay? That is a more passive approach. Now, I'm not saying that open houses are a bad idea. It's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is it's a way for you to wait for people to come to you. So as your business starts to grow, you can have somebody else do your open house for 3 hours on a Sunday, while either you're having the day to yourself or working, making phone calls, going on appointments on a Sunday. So what I like to do is always have things where I'm going out and finding clients myself, or the clients come to me. And that's through, we have other ways to do, which is media and things like this, like events, where you have clients that you can come to you. So those are income servicing, going out and putting up a lockbox, meeting the photographer at your listing to have them shoot it. You don't need to be there. Going to an inspection, meeting an appraiser for an appraisal. Those are all income servicing. You can pay somebody $50 to do that or $100 to do that. Income servicing versus income producing. So now we know the difference between the two. In the beginning, I understand that income servicing is probably some of the things that you're gonna need to do because you don't have your business established yet, and that's okay. But as you start to do more deals and you're noticing that your time is starting to get tighter, these are the things that you can think about, okay? So, process of listing property. First thing we do is we set the appointment. So, if you're cold calling, for example, you get an expired and they say, because we find their motivation, we know why they're selling the property. We've drilled down to, is there a particular reason you're looking to sell it? They tell you, wow, share with me, like, what's important about that for you? They tell you, now you dig deeper. Okay, and how is that gonna enhance your life to actually be able to do that? That's 3 levels deep, okay? And what's that gonna mean at this stage in your life? What's that gonna mean to you? That's 4 levels deep. Now you have their motivation, and then you can actually go for, okay, great, well, what you've been kind enough to share with me, I'm hearing a couple things very clearly. Number 1 is that if you got an offer that was reasonable and acceptable to you, like let's say in the next 30 days, you would definitely sell the property. And number 2, more importantly, is through no fault of your own, it just sounds like you weren't getting, the service you expected to receive when you listed with your previous agent. Is that right? Yeah, Dan, that's right. Okay, great. May I make a suggestion? What's that? And then you go and you close them. I'd love to simply pop by, see what your home has to offer in person. While I'm there, we'll discuss 2 things very clearly. Number 1, what happened? What we need to change this time around to get those buyers in here making bona fide, qualified offers on this beautiful home. On this beautiful home. We always compliment the home. And then number 2, more importantly, is your net bottom line. What you can realistically expect to receive when we're at the closing table signing papers to close. So now you're already in their head, what are they doing?
They're closing.
And who are they closing with?
You.
That's a double psych in their mind. Psychologically, they're closing and they're closing with you. Okay? And then you can say, does that make sense? Yeah. And then Mr. Seller, whether it's now or later, could be me, maybe it's even somebody else. But at least you've met with the top agent in your area. You'll have all the information you need so you can make the best decision you can for yourself and your family. Does that sound fair to you?
Yes.
the normal and natural answer is yes. It just comes out. It's like, yes,
Right.
it's normal and it's natural. And then under optimal conditions, are you generally available evenings or afternoons better for you? And then, but remember, always offer 2 times that you can do. Don't offer them evenings if you're home with your kids and you don't wanna go on appointments. Offer mornings and afternoons. They'll tell you and then you go, and then you close them and you get the appointment. So now you have the appointment. The next level of that is the pre-qual. So we basically are setting up price reductions and pricing property right now in the pre-qual. So this is first level, is pre-qual. You're gonna ask a number of pointed questions to make sure they're ready, willing, and able to sign a listing agreement. You have all parties at the listing agreement, at the listing appointment. Because if a husband's not there and you're talking to the wife, it's not legal. You'll have information about the home. You'll have information regarding what they want as far as price, so you can see if they're asking the moon or they're realistic about their price. And then again, if they're open and willing to sign a listing agreement. That's pre-qualifying. When we ask the number, hey, look, Joanne, nobody knows your home as well as you do. So share with me any changes or modifications that you've done to the inside of the home that you feel could affect its value in some way. Now they're gonna tell you every single thing about the property.
Right.
And then the next question to follow that, which is gonna be in line with price reductions, is, so I'm imagining you've gone online, maybe looked at some of those online, websites as far as value. Do you have any idea at all realistically about what you were thinking of listing the home for at this time? And now I'll tell you. So this is where you can get that information. And sometimes they'll even say to you like, well, what do you think? We want to hear what you're gonna have to say. And don't stop it there. Dig a little bit deeper, and I really appreciate you saying that. The reason I'm asking in a sense, not to be nosy, but it's really just to make sure that, what we're looking for here, we can deliver on that. We wanna make sure that, prices that, what you're looking for is something that we can actually, and the market is actually bearing for a property like yours. So there's Humberto. So that's what you would ask. And then, if they keep saying that, if they keep kind of drilling at, well, we really wanna hear what you have to say, well, then what you can do is refer back to, well, I noticed that on Zillow, this estimate was, 650,000. Is that in line with where you would be?
Right.
Then they'll say, yes, no, maybe. So, but it gives you a good idea of where they are price-wise. So this is level 1 on where they are. So now you know their motivation with price. Then we go next level, which is listing presentation. You go over the pricing with them there. Now, with that, there are some factors that were, what kind of stuff? Hey, what's up, brother? Good to see you, man. You can go wherever you want, bro. We're hitting here, so I would say go maybe next to Cadell, or next to Black Kevin behind, whatever you want, brother.
Yeah, that is fine.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Now this is good. So with regards to pricing, a lot of times agents will say, it's more of like an I know and you don't. I'm thinking that, I think the price is, I think that we could list as, and what that does is it ties you to the price instead of, because do we determine the price as agents?
No.
What determines price?
Market.
Say it again.
The market.
The market does. We don't determine price. So, but there's the old, really I don't want to say the old way, but what most agents will do is put it to them. I think that we should list the property out here. Instead of, hey, we're gonna look at prices, we're gonna look at properties that are on the market right now, that haven't sold. And our neighbors are doing us a big favor with that. Can I share with you what that is? They'll say yes. And then you say, well, they're testing the market at these price points and letting us know they're not working. Because they'd be under contract or, these sold already, right? Yes. Okay, great. And then the second piece of information we're gonna look at is properties that have sold and closed in the last 3 to 6 months. And what we mean by that is what a buyer, a seller, and a bank appraiser have all agreed to. And it's important that we use that bank appraiser. Because a buyer and a seller, they can agree to whatever they want. If the bank doesn't agree, it's a problem. So, and then what we'll do is look at this information together as a team, and what'll come to the surface is not a pinpoint to the penny, but a nice realistic range regarding value and price for your property. Does that make sense? Yes. So now you set it up as you're gonna look at this together instead of this way, which is, and I know and you don't. I think you should list your property here, I think the property is worth. So you're not tying yourself to it and acting as if you know and they don't, because the internet has changed all of that. All this information is public, so everybody knows how to do it. So, yeah, I love that one. I study homes and prices every day. It's an interesting mindset. I don't think it works. I don't think it's worked in 10 years in this market. But again, I go with more of the self-discovery, which is we're gonna look at this together as a team. We're gonna see what's working. We're gonna see what's not working. And then what we'll do is we'll look at that, come to an agreement on a number that we feel will be the next obvious choice for your home to sell. Because we want your home, Mr. Seller, to be the next obvious choice. Okay? And we'll talk about buyer's hat and seller's hat in a minute. Yeah, so key phrases, these are important. When you're presenting price, what we're gonna see is not a pinpoint to the penny in terms of price, but a nice realistic range regarding what's true in as far as market value for your home. From there, it'll come down to strategy, because pricing your property, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, it's going to be a strategy in an attempt for us to get the most money we can out of those buyers. And we'll go over all the strategies that you have at your disposal, because really at the end of the day, I really want you to be comfortable and confident with the strategy that we end up choosing for your home. Does that make sense? And they'll be like, yes. Now this is at your listing presentation when you're talking to them. So again, it's all collaborative. It's not, I know this and you don't, so I'm gonna tell you what your property's worth. Here's an important one, because this can mitigate that gap between prices that have sold 6 to 8 months ago and now, because we know that it is a very different market now, right? Humberto, what about you in your market? You're in more the central South Jersey. Are you seeing prices, inventory rising? Are you seeing days on market increasing?
So honestly, for like my buyers, what we've experienced, we're still experiencing multiple offers on properties.
Okay. Good.
But yeah, there are some properties that are sticking around longer.
Some are sitting on the market, yeah?
Yeah.
90 days, 100 days, 120 days?
90 days, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have it too. There's some pockets in specific areas where it's just a town where there's not a lot of inventory, so when one comes on, everybody hits it. I had one out here in Neckham. We have multiple offers on it, and it's gonna go like 50 grand over. But this is an interesting phrase, let me write it down, because I heard it the other day. Price is a snapshot in time. Because it really is. Because you may get a seller who's like, look, this property closed in January, so, you know, and it's a legit comp to them. But how you can mitigate that is yeah, and I really appreciate that, Mr. Seller. Always agree and affirm them. Yep, I totally appreciate that. What we know to be true is like price is a snapshot in time. All right, because what you want to do before I get into it is you want to frame, this is all framing the price reduction. So they need to have an idea of what's going on in the market. And then what that does is it sets their expectation instead of just them thinking that, you know, because remember, the price reduction means a lot more to them than it does to us. And that's something that you can say to them. You know, I'm aware, Mr. Seller, that this price reduction or pricing the property, if we are gonna take an adjustment, it means a lot more to you than it does to me, and I want you to know that. So just be right out front, candid with it. Because again, we're gonna be framing this around the need for a price reduction. So the first thing that I bring up to them is yeah, you know, and you know, are you aware that for the first time, what I'll say is, are you aware that anything doing with the United States credit rating? Now, most people don't. They don't follow that. Because somebody in finance, they will. And I'll say, well, you know, for the first time in 100 years, our credit rating was downgraded. Now, that might not mean a lot to you, but here's how it impacts us. I'm gonna give a macroeconomic version, which is, outside factors, then micro, which is, in our world of like real estate. So what that basically means is, how we make money, the United States makes money, and how we fund our projects is we sell bonds to other countries. And there's an interest rate tied to that bond. Well, when you did, instead of having a AAA rating, now we have a AA1. So how I can compare that is, it's the same as like, you're going for insurance and you have a car and you have no tickets, you're gonna get the highest rate, right? The best rate for your car insurance, which means the lowest interest, the lowest payment. Let's say you have 2 speeding tickets and a DUI on that. Are you gonna get the same rate as somebody who's perfect? No. This is the same way. So in like an easy way to explain it, it now is if we're more of a risk. The United States, the world sees us more as a risk. So what that means is the debt that we put out for other countries to buy is now going to be at a higher interest rate. So us having to fund our projects at a higher rate, is there a likelihood that we're going to now lower our interest rates? Or are we going to keep rates, are we going to keep them where they are, maybe even have them increase? That seem more realistic? Yeah. So it's a very big deal. And the second part of that is when it comes to, now what happens when there's a lot of uncertainty? What do we do as humans when there's like a lot of uncertainty? We start to get a little tight. We don't do things. We keep our money. And that's what's happening now. We're seeing less buyers out in the market. So all of these factors they're related to why there's less buyers in the market, and also why inventory is starting to rise, because sellers still have to sell, but now there's less people purchasing them. So these are economic factors that we can go over. And here's a market shot of the 30-year rate. Do we remember we all have parents. Do you remember when your parents used to say like the rates were 15, 16%? Were people still buying homes? Sure they were. Exactly. This is where we are now. Yes, it's uptick, but we're at like 6.5, 7 right now, which is way lower than that. But we still have in our heads that like 3 and 3.5, 4, those are normal, and they're not. They never were. So this is a better way of looking at it. So it started, that's 1979. Come all the way to us now, and we are at about, it's about 6.5 to 7% you're gonna get right now on a loan. So now all of a sudden you have a listing that's on the market and it's not selling. And it's time for that price reduction. What I generally will do, and it's not generally, I do this with every listing that I have, is when I'm at the presentation, I will share with them how we, let's say we agree on, 700,000. Yep, sounds like, the market's saying that a price in that $700,000 range is where the market says. And then, so what we're gonna know, the good thing, Mr. Seller, is the market's gonna let us know where we are in terms of price. Do you wanna know how that is? And they'll be like, yeah, what's that? Yeah, so we're either gonna know whether we're at market or we're a little bit overpriced. And how we'll know that is we get a high number of showings and offers, let's say an offer or two, that lets us know we're right where we need to be. But if we don't get any showings or very few and no offers, the market's just telling us that we're a little bit high and a little aggressive on our number, and we're gonna need to make an adjustment to bring it in line with what is selling. And we'll know that after the first 2 to 3 weeks. Does that make sense? And they'll be like, yes. So now let's say you're 30 days in and we're not moving. And you have showings, but we just haven't had an offer yet. So in my market where we are, if you're getting showings and no offers, you're only probably 3 to 5% off. But if I'm noticing we're not getting any showings, maybe 1 or 2 in the first 30 days, 3, and no offers, you're like 10% or more off on the number. And that's gonna be a chat, it's gonna be a conversation you're gonna have with the seller. Now, the conversation becomes easier. Let's say this, how do you think the conversation becomes easier with the seller when you're now going for your reduction? Why would it be an easier conversation with one versus the other?
Because you explained it all in the,
Yes, go ahead.
to them, and they understand, okay, now if you're coming to them, like you told them that you
Mhm.
would, they know that, okay, we did price it too high, we need to change it.
Yeah,
Because
and you're also talking to them every 7 to 10 days. So when you go on day 25, day 30, this isn't the first or second time you've talked to them. Each week, I do what's called Feedback Fridays. So every Friday, I talk to all my listings, let them know what's going on. Hey, we've had 5 showings today, or during the week. We don't have any offers. Good news is we are getting, what we're doing is working. The marketing that we're doing is bringing buyers in. So far, they've seen enough value to look. They just haven't seen enough value yet to put pen to paper and buy. And then after time 3 or 4, that's when it's like, hey, we're noticing that we're not getting any offers, and then we'll have the price adjustment conversation. So it's not a surprise to them, right? Make sense? Good. So the first thing we'll do is you're going to talk about, so the first thing that we talk about is the purpose. So this is like a train track. So visualize the price reduction conversation is like a train track, all right? So the first part of that is the purpose of your call. So when I initially speak to them every week, it is, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, this is Daniel, your real estate broker. Just wanted to give you a call, give you some feedback. It is Friday, and I wanted to talk to you about the showings and the feedback that we're getting on the property. Is now a good time? And I'll be like, yeah, Dan, that was great. Good to hear from you. Perfect. So then we go into what's happened. This is part 2. So the good news is we've had 5 showings this week, and the feedback that we're getting on the property is such and such. They love the kitchen, but they feel like the living room and the dining room is a little bit too small. We just haven't been able to get anybody to put pen to paper yet. So, but what that means is that what we're doing here is working. The marketing that we're doing is bringing buyers in to see the property. So that's the good news. And then they're generally going to say something along the lines of like, wow, that's awesome, yeah, but no offers. And then I will say something like, yeah, you know what, that's actually concerning to me too. Can I share it with you why? Yeah, what's that? Yeah, so again, what we're noticing is they're seeing enough value to come in to take a look at the property based on what we've, how we marketed it. They're just not seeing enough value yet to put pen to paper. Now, we go into number 3, motivation. I'm aware that the reason that you were looking to sell the property is you're moving to Florida because you're looking to retire. Now, is that still the case, or has something changed? No, Dan, that's still the case. Okay, great. So, again, what we're noticing is with this, we have buyers that are interested in the property. They're just not right now putting pen to paper. So, you have one of 3. You have 3 options. Whatever option you choose, I'll support you 100%. Can I go over those with you now? Yeah, what's that? So the first option is we can just leave the property as is. Leave the price as is. Again, with the feedback we're getting, the buyers just haven't seen the property, the value yet in putting pen to paper. So, the odds that we're, is it possible that we'll get an offer? Yeah. But based on the feedback that we're getting, is it probable? And I'll ask them that. Is it probable? And they're gonna be like, and I'll be like, yeah. In my estimation, it doesn't look that way. And that's not me being negative. It's just giving an accurate assessment of reality. And they'll be like, okay. Second option we can do is, now I already know the answer to this, but I'm gonna offer it to them anyway, is we can take the property off the market and you guys can keep it. Now let me ask, is it an option for you to keep this property but still make the move to Florida? Maybe like rent it out. Now, do I know the answer to this question? Why do I know the answer?
Because they told you they need to sell or move
When did they tell me that?
when you first spoke with them.
In the
Exactly.
prequel.
Say it again, Jen?
In the prequel.
In the pre-qual. That's first level. When we initially were talking to them, I already know that that's not an option. So they're gonna be like, no, we definitely need to sell. Okay, I just wanted to present that to you because I know that is an option for you. And then the third option that you have, and this is what most sellers tend to do in this situation, is just take an adjustment on the price. Okay? Now, based on what you're looking to accomplish and why, which one do you think we should do? And then be quiet. Because there's gonna be
Of
some
course.
sign, and we always love to fill that silence with words. So let it sit, and then they're gonna answer. And so let's say that, yeah, you know what, how much do you think we should do? What do you think we should do? And then, so you'll get something like, hey, let's take a small reduction, I'll rent it. And there's key phrases you can keep in there. Okay, so the first thing you do is acknowledge it. Let's say they say, you know what, Dan, I'm gonna rent it. We're not gonna say, I wanna rent it. Okay, no problem. Absolutely, you can do that. Remember, my job's to help you. It's never to talk you into doing anything. So, I wrote in there, it's kind of like, especially in New Jersey, it's that no one's gonna tell me what to do thought. Okay, I'm the boss, and I always say that, hey, you're the boss. This is your property, whatever you decide, I'm gonna be in support of you and your family 100%. So, and hey, and Aaron taught me this. And speaking to you, Mr. Seller, listen, nobody's gonna twist your arm and tell you what to do. Okay, so and it's like, haha, you know, and they'll say like, you know, oh, well, what do you think? You're not gonna throw me out? You're not gonna kick me out, throw me in the pool? No, ha ha ha. And what it does is it lightens it. It simmers that their mind. Like he's not just trying to take to get the most, because he's trying to sell it.
Right,
We're in agreement
he's
here.
really working for me.
Exactly. He's really working for me, and that's exactly what we're looking to do here. So transition to the motivation. Let's say that. Transition to it. Yeah. So I just wanted to ask a few quick questions just to make sure I'm understanding why you're looking to sell the property. So again, you communicated with me. You're looking to sell because you're moving to Florida and you're going to be looking to retire, and that was really important to you. Is that right? Yes. Now this is so important. Keep digging. So what would be the benefit to you and your family if you were actually able to do that? Well, we're tired of New Jersey. We don't want to pay the taxes here. We're tired of the winters. We hate shoveling snow. The common stuff, Wow, awesome. And hey, what's the benefit to you personally? Like if you did. This is next level, guys. This is like next level motivation. So what's the benefit to you and your family for actually able to do that? Let me tell you, we are finished with New Jersey. We don't want to be here anymore. It's going to give us the peace and comfort. We have friends down in Florida. Like they're going to tell you this. Like they're going to really start to open up with you about it. Okay? And then here's the important one. How is your life going to improve in some way? If you were actually able to make this happen. And we were able to sell the property for you. Not I was able to sell it. We are able to sell it for you. Yeah, it's the ultimate goal. It's the ultimate, this is what we want. We wanted this for a long time. Then, again, our need to fill silence with words is, everybody has it. We all have it, especially us, because we're supposed to know everything. So, let there be like a nice pause, and then let's say we sold the home and we did do that for you. You can ask it again. What is that going to mean for you? But this is the big one. At this stage in your life, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, because let's say most of the time when someone's looking to move to Florida or they're relocating or they're retiring, they're in an advanced age. At this stage in your life, how important is that for you? It's everything, man. It's like this is we're it's the next journey and this next phase of our lives, and we're trying to get there. Awesome. So once you get into that, okay, great. So I know you mentioned you really only want to take like a $10,000 reduction, and really like let's say 30 or 40 is warranted. The last thing that I want is to have this conversation with you again in another 30 days. So if you were, based on what you're looking to accomplish and why, what do you think we should do? And then be quiet. And let them do it. Again, it may be something where they're going to come in between. Let's say they do 30 instead of 40 or 50. But that's the I want to leave this for you guys. Take pictures of this. you're gonna get this a lot. But how you frame it in the beginning is going to make this conversation a lot easier. Because again, you already know in the pre-qual why they're selling, you've already gone through it, now that's first level. Second level is listing presentation, you've gone over it again there. And sometimes what I'll do is when I call them after the pre-qual for the appointment, and because at the end of that I'll say, I really appreciate you giving me the time today. What's gonna happen is I'm gonna send that email to you. I'll have my assistant, give you a call, whether it's tonight at 5, just to make sure that the time tomorrow at 3 o'clock for our appointment is good. And you receive the email. When I make that phone call in the evening, I'll ask them sometimes once again, hey, so I just wanna make sure that I have everything for tomorrow. The main reason you're looking to sell the property is, and let them fill it in, whatever it is. I'll do it sometimes, again, there, just to drive it home. Because it's everything. It's not anything that I just joked the other day with a seller where she's a probate. And, no, I'm sorry, she was an expired. And she showed me, she actually sent me a text of all the phone calls from agents, it was like 50. And she only expired that morning. And said, I don't know, it just was weird, like I just saw the phone ring and something said for me to answer it. So, and she was like, look, she must have said it 5 times in the first 10 seconds I'm talking. We're not signing a listing agreement. We're not signing a listing agreement. We're not signing a listing agreement. And I was like, no problem. I was like, Shirley, it's all good. I said, I'm looking at a really nice home here. I'm a little confused. I wanted to wait till all the phone calls kind of dissipated before I reached out to you. And so I was very straight with her, and she was like, look, I don't know what happened. We're really annoyed, and we're just gonna take a break. And I was like, listen, Shirley, at the end of the day, like with this, I could go on, like, an agent could go on, if it's priced right, I can go on vacation and the property will sell. And she started laughing hysterically. And I was like, you're not used to this kind of like upfront, talk, right? She's like, no one's ever said that to me before. I'm like, well, it's true. I said, it just sounds like you didn't get, what you were looking for in the agent that you hired. And she was like, no, they did this, they did that. But now I'm having a conversation with her. So she said, do me a favor, send me your info. I'm gonna send it to my husband. He's the one who makes the decision. And I said, look, I'd love to have a conversation, whether it's via Zoom or on a regular phone call with myself, you and him. We'll all get together on the same page. And if it's a fit for me to work with you, I'll love to take next steps. I'll come out, see the property, meet you both, and get the process going for you. Now, the reason they're looking to sell it is their family's expanding. So they have to sell it. I think she's 5 months pregnant or 6 months pregnant, and they have a 2-bed, and they already have 1 child. So they have to get a 3 or a 4. And they have the home picked out already. So I'm just sharing it to say, I'm very, to be upfront and drive in that motivation and make a joke to lighten it, because this isn't always that serious.
Right.
She's gonna remember because I said that to her. I can go on vacation, this property will sell, it's priced right.
Right.
So,
Sure.
yeah, so when you're talking to them in the initial, in the presentation or in the pre-qual, I don't know, drop something in there that's gonna make them remember you as opposed to everybody, the other 900 agents that are calling them.
Gonna stand out.
Yeah. So this is a lot. Give me some questions, give me some feedback on what you're seeing here. Have you seen this? Do you get this? Have you taken reductions? What kind of feedback are you getting from your sellers when you take them?
Most of the time, they don't want to,
Yeah.
in their mind, they want a set amount, but,
Mhm.
realistically, they kind of realize at that point they have to.
Yeah. And one of the things you can do too, that just popped into my head, is you can give them the options on why the property's not selling. Hey, look, I really appreciate you, the Mr. Seller, and this is on the feedback calls that I give. I'll say this sometimes to them. Look, there's three reasons why a property wouldn't sell. Can I share those with you? Yeah. Okay. Now the first one is that maybe I'm not doing my job. Maybe I dropped the ball. Now, why do I say that? Why do I say that first?
So you take blame.
And yes, but
It's
why?
on their mind.
Say it again.
It's on their mind.
They're thinking it. They're thinking that. So right out of the gate, I wanna let them know, yeah, and I mean, maybe I dropped the ball, and maybe I'm just not doing my job. But the good news, Mr. Seller, is we're doing for you, you know, the exact same thing that we've done. You heard this 100 times, you know. The good news is we're doing for you exactly what we've done for the last 20 people that, you know, 20 sellers that we've closed in the last 12 months. And I know that might not mean a lot to you with them because their properties have sold and yours haven't, but we just want to make you aware and, you know, ensure that we're doing exactly what we need to do to get the property sold. So I want to immediately squash that. And then the second reason is the condition. And I mean, shoot, you know, I've seen your home. You've seen. Do you think it's the condition of your home, or are they going to say 100% of the time? No. My house is beautiful. My house is gorgeous. We did this. We did that. Like, you know. And you know, we hear it a lot. Like the endowment effect comes into play, and we know what that is, right? Give me the endowment. Do you remember it? No. Because it's mine. It's worth more. We all have that. Because this computer is mine, it's worth more than your average Mac. The Macs go for $1,000, but that's mine. That'll sell for $1,200. It's human nature. We all have it. It's psychologically in our brains. Because I own it, it's going to sell. And I fell victim to this. I had a property in Pennsylvania, and I overestimated its value probably by about $20,000 to $30,000. So we all do it. And then sellers will have that too, because it's mine, it's worth more, so you have to mitigate that. So in the condition, it's never gonna be that. And then the third reason is the price. So, again, based on what you're looking to accomplish and why, what do you think we should do? So once you can go over those three too. Maybe I dropped the ball, condition, price. Make sense? Yeah. So, because these, again, guys, it's all in the frame. I just want to keep saying it. You're framing the conversation because we know that properties are staying on the market longer. So giving them that framework of seeing, look, our credit rating just got downgraded, which means our debt costs more. So if we're paying more for debt, what would make, you know, do you think that interest rates are going to go down considering what we're now paying other countries to fund ourselves is going up? Do you think that and this is going to be in alignment with each other? They need to be like here. So, in how you communicate that to the seller is going to be paramount to you getting the price reduction. But again, it's all skill. Like these are things that we study all the time, and you know, as agents, it's our job to know these kinds of stats and statistics, so you can communicate it to them and help sellers make the best decisions that they can for their homes. Because that's what we're here to do. We're here to guide them. We're just guides. You know, because again, I'll say it, and I say it a lot to sellers, like, hey, I could go on vacation. If this property is priced right, it'll sell. I'll come back in a month and it'll be almost to closing. Because it's true. So give me some questions, give me some, you know, have you guys had any objections with your feedback, with your price reductions? Have you taken a lot, Joanne? Have you noticed you need to take them?
Sometimes I do, depending on just showing homes as well, not even just like my own, you know, buyers.
Yeah.
Like my buyers looking for homes, they're like, you know, why is that one sitting?
Mm-hmm.
And it's, you know, again, I try to explain it's the market, it's like, you know.
It's a great
price
question.
was priced too high, you see it, that
Yes.
there's all this work, and like they're not putting that into consideration, like you said, like people think their houses are worth more,
Yes.
and there's tons of work that needs to be done.
And it's another good point. It's something else that you can communicate to a seller when you're going over with them, framing, you know, and they're like, well, we only want to, you know, I want to rent it, or, and then, so a good point you can say with renting too is yeah, I always acknowledge it, definitely an option, Mr. Seller. You know, can I share with you what would be concerning for you and your family's bottom line if we took that approach? Now, if I said, can I share with you what's concerning about that, do you think they're going to care?
No.
Because they don't care what I think. But if I say, can I share with you what's concerning about you and your family's bottom line, now it's affecting their money.
Right.
They're going to be interested to know. They're going to be like, yeah, what's that? Well, right now your property is an owner, you know, you live in it, it's primary residence. Once you rent it, it becomes a rental property. And after 2 years, you're subject to capital gains. And the capital gains taxes, right now, it's, I would say, do you know what your capital gains tax is? And they're gonna be like, no. Do you guys know what it is? It's okay. Take a guess. What do you think you're paying capital gains if you were to sell a property as an investment? Throw a number out. What percent? This goes federal. 20%.
Wow.
So it's 20%. So what you can share with them is definitely an option. I just want to make you aware that you need to sell the property 20% higher just to cover your capital gains. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
And knowing where the market's going right now, we're seeing inventory rising. Remember, you're framing. Seeing inventory rising, seeing days on market rising, knowing that Moody's had just downgraded our debt for the first time in 100 years. So now the world thinks that we're a risk to lend against. Do we see, realistically, it's a good word, do you think realistically you're gonna be able to sell for more in 2 to 3 years? Or do you think the likelihood is to be the same, maybe even less? It's all in framing.
And it doesn't help either that inventory is increasing and the buyer pool is decreasing, so it's like buyers have more options, so
Yes,
at
they
the end of
do.
the day, in order, you have to price it less, more
Yes.
competitively. So prices are just gonna drop.
Yeah, and how do we create value in property? So for real estate, there's only 2 ways you can increase the value of something. Do you guys know what that is?
Price it correctly.
Right, so if let's say it's at 500,000 and it's not moving, there's 2 things that you can do to create value in the eyes of buyers to get that property sold. What would be the first?
Make some repairs and just like.
Say it again.
Make some repairs.
Yes.
You know.
So you're putting money into the property, you're adding to it. Let's say you redo the kitchen, you redo the bathroom. So you're putting money in to add to the property, to make it worth more. Or you're gonna reduce the price. That's it. Those are the only 2 ways to add to, if you have something here, to either increase it or to have it worth more value in someone else's eyes, is to take the adjustment. That's it. So you said it. You see that inventory is rising. We see that there's less buyers. And a lot of that is buyer fatigue. They're just getting tired of not being able to get the properties they want because the ones that are priced right are moving.
Right.
So they're staying, whether they're renting, staying in the property that they own. So we have less. So what's gonna make your home more attractive? And if you're sitting on the market 30 days, 40 days, then it goes into what you just said, Joanne, which is you have a buyer there and the buyer walks in. What's the first question they ask you?
Why is this house still on the market? What's wrong with it?
That's it. Those are the 2 primary questions, guys. Why is this still on the market and
What's wrong with it?
what's wrong with it? And you'll communicate that to your seller. This is a beautiful home. There's nothing wrong with this home, right? They're gonna be like, no. Start telling you every great thing about it. Okay. Yeah, so we don't want, when you pull out of the actives, we don't want this to happen to you, which is to still be on the market 60 days, 70 days, 90 days, and no offers, because those questions are gonna start to, imagine, most buyers feel the same way, right? Yeah, they're all gonna be asking the same questions. What's wrong and why is this home moving? We want yours to be the next obvious choice to sell. And those are 3 words I use a ton on presentations. Here's our competition, which is all the actives. Okay, so this is gonna be who we're competing with when we go to market. This is strategy 1, which is start out high, leave room to negotiate down. And that's the actives that I'll show them. And again, the good news is these sellers are testing the market, letting us know what price points aren't working. And we can use that to our advantage when we go to market. So again, we can price it correctly, properly, where the market's telling us it needs to be. So we can be
And so
Next obvious choice, exactly, to sell. Does that make sense, Mr. Seller? Yes. And then you can show them the ones that have sold. Now, there's always gonna be a gap between actives and solds. And then I go over the solds. This is what a buyer and a seller and a bank appraiser have all agreed to for prices in your home. You know, based on what you're looking to accomplish, and which strategy do you think is gonna serve you and your family best? Starting out high, leaving room to negotiate, which is strategy one, or pricing it right at market value, even future pacing the market and pricing it a little bit below that, so buyers and their agents see value. Buyers and their agents see value. Because when the agent sees value, you think they're gonna send it to their buyer to show?
They're gonna sell them on it.
What's that?
The buyer's agent's gonna sell them on the
They
property.
sure are, absolutely. And let them choose. Now, more often than not, they wanna maybe come in the middle, but that middle between active and sold, that's still gonna be higher than the last sold, because that's the highest. The solds that I bring are usually the highest priced, like I'll have the highest one. So if they're going to go higher than that, now they're looking to set the market. And how do I word this? What, Joanne, that a buyer you're working with wants to set the market with the property they're gonna purchase? Do they wanna set the market as the high?
No.
Of course not. I don't either. So they're gonna, the more often than not, those properties are gonna sit.
Right.
So in how you frame that, you know, at the presentation, pricing that property, start out highly, room to negotiate, market value, even a little bit below. And then they'll say, well, yeah, the second one, great. So, and then you can ask them regarding price. So based on what you're looking at, you know, what price do you feel that you would feel comfortable listing at, so we can be the next obvious choice to sell? And it's usually gonna be that highest sale comp, sometimes even a little bit above it. Now, I'll go 10,000 above that highest, I'm okay with that. But I'm not going, you know, if they're gonna wanna go 20, 30, 40 above it, that's a business decision you guys are gonna make. Do I wanna take a listing that I'm now gonna have to manage? Because you know it's too high. So, and again, you can go back to the comps and be like, remember, this property's on the market now 90 days. Whatever plans this seller had about moving and getting to the next, that's out the window.
Right.
They're reconfiguring everything right now because they don't even have they have no contract on it. I spoke to the agent and they don't have anything coming. What do you think this seller is gonna need to do to create value in the eyes of the buyers there? And the seller's gonna be like, lower the price? Yeah, totally, I agree. Now, we don't want this to be us, right? No, great. So where do you think we need to be price-wise, so we can be the next obvious choice to sell? See how it's all, like, it just leads to this
Right.
logical conclusion of right where we need to be, instead of here.
Right.
Because this is gonna, you know, it's gonna sit. And it all goes back to motivation. It all goes back to, I guess I don't have it on here, I thought I had it on here. Motivation, it all goes back to motivation. That's why that's so important. You're digging 3 and 4 and 5 levels deep to get why they're doing what they're doing. So, what do you think? Solid? Questions, comments? What do you got? Roberta, you're looking with like, you're either really processing this hard or you got questions.
No, it's I haven't had to do one yet. So,
Good. So you're noticing the properties that you're pricing, because you're listing property, you're pricing them where they need to be and they're going under contract quick?
Yeah,
Good.
but I think it's also the market where there's a little, like, you still have a lot of buyers,
Yeah.
so it could be that too. But I think, you know, I try not to overprice property.
Do you go against, here's a good question, do you go against agents that are promising the seller a higher number? List with me and we'll go here. I can get you 10,000 more, 20,000 more.
I'll be honest with you, I haven't gotten that feedback.
No? Good,
Yeah, so
good.
not that I'm aware of.
So what'll happen is the seller will tell you, well, this agent told me that they can get me 10,000 more, or 20,000 more than what you're saying. What you're pricing this at. That's how you'll know.
They haven't told me that.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, awesome.
How do you avoid, like, if you know you need to cut it 30K and they're
Mhm.
like, oh, let's just cut it 10K for now.
Mhm.
And then in another 2 or 3 weeks, you're cutting it another 10K.
Sure.
Like, if I'm working with buyers, I'm gonna take advantage of that if you constantly decreasing every 2 weeks, and I'm gonna go even lower.
Absolutely.
So how do you explain to the seller, no, let's just go with 30K in the first shot
Mhm.
instead of doing like
Yeah,
multiple
instead of
increments?
incremental, which is,
Yeah,
which is, this goes right back to, pricing is a snapshot in time, and, where is it? Here. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna wanna go back to, number one, the motivation.
right.
It's always going back
It's
to
always
that.
motivation,
It's
yeah.
always going back to that, but you can frame it in the way, and it's all in framing.
Mhm.
So, you work with a lot of buyers, let's say you were, and we can flip it, buyer hat, seller hat.
Okay.
You know, yeah, I appreciate that, Mr. Seller, like, let's just take a step back, and let's say that you were a buyer looking to purchase this property.
Mhm.
And you see it's on the market now, 45 days or 60 days, you're on the market now, we're 2 months in, we still don't have a contract yet. And you're a buyer, you're looking at this property. What's the first questions that are gonna come into your mind?
What's wrong with it?
Yes.
And can I put in an offer even lower?
Yeah, and I mean, when the property's on the market, so, and that's exactly what, do you think most buyers feel the same way as you?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we know that properties that are right on the market, right out of the gate, let's say, 5 days, 7 days, and somebody wants to put an offer in, what are the odds and the expectation that offer's gonna be at list? Because it's new.
Usually above.
Say it again, Joanne?
Usually above.
It's usually above. Yeah. So we know that there's a perceived value that comes with time. Okay, and the perceived value of a listing right out, that's new, we would assume that that the perceived value is that it's highest, right? Because it's new. So does the perceived value stay the same, or does it go down over time? Say it again?
Goes down.
Goes down over time, absolutely. So, we know, and look, Mr. Seller, we know there's nothing wrong with this home, right? You have a beautiful home. And let me just take a step back and compliment you on the condition that you have this home in. We know there's nothing wrong with it, right? And they're gonna say, yes, absolutely, yeah. So, the longer that we're on the market, we know that perceived value decreases. So what we don't wanna have is buyers walking in here thinking exactly what you said. What's wrong with it, and can we get an offer that's lower? Does that make sense? Yeah. So based on what you're looking to accomplish and why, what do you think we should do here?
Okay.
And then just be quiet.
I like
I know you're gonna wanna say, so let's just do it.
Right.
Let
Let them
Again,
do.
let them answer. I know it's hard, because I sometimes wanna do it too, but it's the almost like putting your hand over your mouth. And you go right back to the motivation of it, Yeah, we wanna get you to Florida in the time frame that you want. So we know, again, the great news is the market tells us where we are in our price. Offers and showings and offers, we know that we're right where we needed to be. Unfortunately, we're in that second part, which is we have showings, which is we're not getting the offers that we had hoped for. The market's just telling us we're a little bit off on the price. So that's it. Yeah, you just go right back to that.
Okay.
Flip it around, buyer hat, seller hat. Because we know they're very different.
Awesome, thanks.
Cool?
Yes.
Awesome. Any other questions? Anything? Joanne, you good?
I'm good, thank you.
Awesome. All right, guys, I hope this was really helpful and useful for you. This is a real skill to have when you are pricing property initially. Well, we'll go a step further. When you're pre-qualifying them, this is paramount, because this is where you're starting to future pace for price reductions. Because in pre-qual, we could say, or in the listing presentation, we could say, hey, and the great news is if, when we price it at this point, the market seems to be showing us that 700,000 is where we need to be. But the good news is, the market will tell us where we are as far as price goes. Can I share with you how? What's that? Well, when we go to market, we're either gonna have showings and offers, which tells us where we need to be, or we have showings maybe and no offers, But that lets us know we're a little bit off on the price and we just need to make an adjustment to bring it more in line with what's selling. Does that make sense? Yes. So you've already laid the groundwork for, if it's not working, we're not getting
Right.
the showings and offers that we had
You already
hoped,
have a backup plan.
you have a backup. And you're talking to them every week anyway. Every 7 to 10 days, you're having a conversation with them about the showings and what's going on with the property. Because that's our job. We're supposed to talk to them. Even when it's hard and you're not getting the showings and offers that you had hoped. Good?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, guys. Again, hope this was really helpful and useful for you. I want to say thank you. Thanks for coming out. This was really informational for me. It just keeps me, keeps it fresh in my mind. And we have role play groups that we role play these with every day. I also role play too with a lot of my team. I'm calling certain people randomly just to role play these price reductions, whether it's pre-qual, listing presentation. I'm making random phone calls, but we have a whole community of agents in our organization. There's like 430 of them, where we do this literally every day. We go over these, we train you to just have the skills to go sit in front of people that need help, and we have the skills and the training to help them. Tactics. Yes, motivation's important, but we give you actual tactics on how to present price, changing markets, which is what we're in right now. We're in a changing market, and just so you have the skill to go out and talk to the public and help them, and again, be an ultimate success at your career, which is real estate. The bar to get into our industry is very low, guys. All you need to do is have $200 and take a test, and you're in. You're supposed to be helping people with $1 million properties.
It's harder on our side though.
You think so?
What? The test we gotta take is like the bar.
Oh, yours.
On the lending
Yes,
side,
from a lending
but-
perspective, totally.
Credit has to be on point,
Yes,
no foreclosures, like,
I know.
yeah.
It is. But for realtors, take a 2-week course, take a test, take a state test, and now you're supposed to be an expert on how to sell people property. It's like the bar is so, and when agents actually find out
You think
what
we'll
it
ever change
takes,
that, though? I always wonder.
what's that?
You think that's how we're gonna change?
Oh, I don't know. It may or may not, but
Yeah.
I don't think so because they make a lot of money from
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, you're right, from just like,
just the tests and stuff.
just the test.
Yes.
the
Yeah, I
fees
didn't
and
think about that.
Oh God, yeah. MLS fees, board fees.
Some business.
I have reinstating my North Carolina, and North Carolina is one of the only states, I have to go to the entire 30 hours.
No, really.
Ours is like 80, but they're like, for national, they're having me do 30,
Yeah.
plus all North Carolina. This is too old, cause I got licensed like.
That's
a long
crazy.
time ago. They're like, oh, I'm like.
Yeah. But if you
yeah,
think
how
about
hard
it,
is this?
like our entry point, think about an entry point for us. You go to school, you can crash course it, which I did in 2 weeks. This was years ago.
Yeah.
You do a 2-week crash from like 9 to 6, take a test, and you take a state test. And then all of a sudden now you have your real estate license and you can go tell people and share people that I know what I'm doing to sell your $1 million house. It's nuts. There's a skill level that comes with it. There's tactics that come with it, and I think and skills to actually understand and know what to say to people when you're calling them. And I think once agents really realize like what it takes to consistently list property and sell it in high volume, that's why half of them, when you have markets like this, where it's a down market, it's a down market where transactions are down, almost half from 3 and 4 years ago. Most of them do one of two things: they join a team because they don't know how to get their own leads, or they just leave the industry altogether and get another job. So the reason we do these trainings and these workshops and these lunch and learns, and we have these schools of communities of agents, role playing and mentoring, is because we want you guys to be the successes that we know you can be, and to guide the public, help them with probably the biggest transaction that they're going to do in their life, which is real estate and selling their home. So, good, awesome. All right. Doesn't seem like there's any questions, so I thank you. Again, thank you everybody for letting me pour out and share with you. I hope this was informational, and have a great rest of your day. Awesome. You bet. All right, kill it.